When punk came along, it stripped music of all pretensions, returned us to the pure thrill of rock and roll, where that simplicity allowed the absolute expression of the central Oedipal lyric of pop, fuck you. Sooner or later, and later in this case was late 77, someone, somewhere was going to have to want a way to express more complex emotions, but to build to that place from the simplicity and anger of punk instrumentation.
She's lost control, and she's bringing to the nearest passerby. She's lost control, and she gave away the secrets of her past and said, I've lost control again.
She's Lost Control jumped out at me as a song that would just kind of go perfectly into what we do. And I also really like the lyrics of the song a lot, like in terms of, we thought we did the song kind of in our own way, I think, and the lyrics even, I didn't even use exactly, the lyrics that were the song. I kind of embellished it a lot. That song, for me, I don't know, it spoke to me. Also, the bass line in that song seems to really flow and carry it in a way, I think. So, since we have two bass players, it gives them something to do. I mean that in a good way. More linear type stuff and more layering than it is like pop structure songs and things like that, and the lyrics are so much more haunting and dark than you're gonna have on a lot of punk stuff, or introspective or something in a way that's hauntingly beautiful.
Well, the funny thing with New Dawn Fades is that I actually recorded it separate from the compilation album, because I'd been a huge Joy Division fan when I was in high school, and every band I've ever been in, we've done lots and lots of Joy Division covers. One, because I love Joy Division, and it's sort of like, lyrically and spiritually got me through high school, and also their songs are really easy to cover. They would expect if I was to do a Joy Division cover, it would be more like a techno version of a Joy Division song rather than a more faithful rendition of the original. I have a friend who's a huge Joy Division fan, and he can never figure out their lyrics, but maybe, who knows, maybe I'm like coming from a similar place that Ian Curtis was coming from. I remember also being in high school, which was, 14 years ago, being such a huge Joy Division fan. I had pictures of Ian Curtis, but they were always kind of obscure, esoteric pictures. I came in the corner, not very well lit, trying to figure out whether we looked alike. Usually high school yearbook quotes are sort of like optimistic or like, gosh, we had a great time, let's all have a wonderful future. And mine was, you cry out in your sleep, all my failings exposed, and there's a taste in my mouth when desperation takes hold, that something so good just can't function anymore, love will tear us apart.
Well, I guess it's just a juxtaposition of love will tear us apart. Love will tear us apart. It seems odd that something so good would separate or explode or pull away. I've never done the song live, so I suppose the approach is the same. The lyrics, they're words that carry a lot of meaning, but you try to make them yours. Originally, I thought that I would like to do it very, very slow, but as I started to work on it, I felt comfortable with that fast tempo. The phrasing seems like it's something else altogether. Maybe Frank Sinatra.
There was a period, I guess, like the early 60s, maybe late 50s even, or at some point around there, where they tried to paint Frank Sinatra as this really tortured, anguished, lonely soul. And I have one Frank Sinatra album where the back cover liner notes talks about Frank wandering around the streets of New York late at night, mulling over his heartbreaks and how sad and lonely his life has been.
The fine line between sort of exaltation and fear that you feel in a city at nighttime. It's awesome and it's frightening at the same time. It's quite beautiful at night, and it's also like a monster.
After Frigid Stars came out, in some German magazine they wrote, like Joy Division before them, this is a band that uses tears instead of notes. I thought, well, if there was anything that we should do, it would be a Joy Division song. And we picked this one because it's kind of has that melodrama, which I have to say is in Codeine songs. Our idea was that we were going to use a bowed cymbal, which has a great sound, but we'd never done that before, and it's kind of a hard thing to control. It was really fun though, and it does get a great sound, but you just have to stand there with a bow and go back and forth slowly throughout the whole song.
With a lot of their songs, just like the desperation, the racing of like the drums and the bass and the melodies and the ways the vocals are saying are so desperate, and desperation to me is like really beautiful. And the chord progressions, the actual melodies of the song was so strikingly beautiful. Joy Division hit the nail on the head, so to speak. Well, we didn't want to copy what they did, but we didn't want it just to be three guys bashing out like the root chords, because the original version has all these electronics flying in and out of it during that part. We wanted to have like surf sounds. And, because we love where we live in California, we're just really into the beaches and the surf and the water and the ocean and a friend of ours who helped record it is pretty spacey.
Radio, live transmission show. Radio, live transmission show.
Yeah, I enjoyed Vision for the first time. I mean, as cheesy as it sounds, it was probably one of the most influential things in my life as far as music. It's a faster song, but if you slow it down the way we do, and I don't know, it's just kind of a different twist to it. And we sing it a little bit different, there's some harmony on there, and there's a little bit of change in phrasing, and also I only get through the first verse.
I think we just went in there and pretty much nailed it live in the first take.
It's the epitome of two chords. The energy and the power and the catchiness you can get out of just two chords over and over again, basically. Joy Division was one of the first to see that there were many, many possibilities with the music, in creating moods, creating landscapes.
Picture this kind of really chaotic world that I've always been into, that kind of that place where reality doesn't quite make sense or something anymore.
Light at the end of the tunnel was sort of a light, some kind of a very bright, not void, but not abyss, but something just very, very bright. Sort of a loss of vision.
There's a sort of intimacy to the foreground, but which is a little bit ominous. It's almost like a set waiting for something to happen, which is very Hollywood and very Los Angeles. And then there's this incredible Blade Runner-esque backdrop beyond the foreground, this sort of almost endless kind of extent of the city.
And you said fuck off to the world with divine eloquence. And now, as you take it further, these shades from a previous time have proved ideal companions.